To another edition of X Feed. I'm trying a different video angle on this, so if this is weird, you don't like just seeing my head, or you think I need to be taller, I will try to be more masculine, if you will. So the timeline here, we got a special guest coming towards the end of the stream, diving into Blast a little bit more thoroughly, if you will, but quickly looking at what is going on within the markets. Blast currently trading at just over 2 cents, up, I guess, 23% on the day. For this, but again, the entire timeline has been yapping about this, some good, some bad, and we'll get into all of that. Now, if you guys aren't super familiar, within Dex Screener, this is the site. You can see right here how it shows a whole bunch of the fun little statistics, where there's been 2,886 buys, while there's been 9,192 sells. Kind of crazy on 62 million volume. So again, things are happening within this, but yeah, just very interesting to see. And I realize the top of this thing, I might need to move it down a little bit. Apologies. Where the heck is the screen? Aha, there we go. Nudge it down. Okay, there we go. Justin, Congressman Matt Gaetz introduces bill that would allow federal income tax to be paid in Bitcoin. Now, this was a piece of the news yesterday, but I think that it's very interesting nonetheless, where we are continually having the barriers broken within the crypto space, where, if this ends up going through, it's just, hey, here's another realm where you can use this in your daily lives, which is crazy, or I guess not daily, but once a year. Is the concept of royalties obsolete? That's a question, Mr. Amtali. Do you believe that royalties are obsolete? And hello, sir. With the shift towards contracts that allow Yuga Labs to exclude marketplaces, royalties have fallen to an all-time low, averaging about $200,000 per month. This figure includes contracts and collections that have been sold off to faraway too. Here are a few implications of these enforcement actions. It affects the principle of decentralization. It reduces liquidity. Earning 0.5% on 200 ETH is still more lucrative than 2.5% on 5 ETH. Nobody looks on Magic Eden first for ETH collections, and I generally agree with this. I don't think we've really had any real uptick within Magic Eden, and I might be kind of like secluded in like my own point of view, and I could be totally wrong with it, but I just don't see people talking that much about Magic Eden apart from the fact of like the diamond rewards. And I think on kind of a higher level, when we're looking at this, and I just, why are we buying different NFTs right now? I think the rationale for buying them, the speculative nature, has really toned down comparatively to what it was. But in my opinion, says Frosties, this approach should be reversed. Yuga Labs should focus on its core business to thrive instead of hunting royalties, which are unpopular, especially in bad times. So this is the Yuga Labs royalties chart. You can see at one point in the middle-ish of 2022, went all the way above $40 million in a single month. Absolute insanity. But it does go to show, why are people looking at the blockchain space? Well, when you sell something and you can kind of get the royalties for it, think of the sports cards, right? Like here, you want me to break out the Pokemon? I'm absolutely down for it. Hell yeah, bro. Every time a Pokemon card gets traded, Pokemon gets absolutely nothing from it. Well, what if that's on chain? Can you think of the royalties that they would get from that aspect? It's insane, absolutely insane. And it shows, hey, from a business standpoint, well, that's why you jump on chain. More news here coming from Yuga with Faraway. I'm sorry, it's not necessarily Yuga, but still kind of. It's day 3 of 7 days of Dookey, where we present new features in a little bit, because why not? Today we're spilling the beans about mini events. So the next part, I want you to try to envision something here, okay? So you're a gamer. Are you are you good at gaming? I heard He's pretty good at League. You know what I mean? We got to sign up for some coaching sessions for me afterwards, brother. But what if everything that is going on with the Yuga turns into hyper-competitiveness? Is this what people like? Is this going to be a niche audience, or do people love it? So they have a Lava Quest, Sewer Race, and Moo Moo Madness are coming to Dookey Dash Unleashed, or Unclogged, sorry, not Unleashed, as daily mini events that award players with special prizes for completing tricky and time-sensitive events. Many events have their own special leaderboard, which give you a chance to compete against a much smaller group of divers. These events go a long way in luring players back to the sewer, which reminds us that we would love to have you lurk in our Discord. But very interesting here, what we have as games within the Web3 space, what are they going to target? Is it that competitive nature? Is it something that's more low key? Are they going to be able to branch off and have something basically for everybody? Again, if this is supposed to be a game, particularly in Dookey Dash Unclogged, that is in everyone's phone, well, I guess they need to have something for everyone. Life tip, and this one is kind of crazy. When you sign up for anything online, put the website's name as your middle name. That way, when you receive spam or advert emails, you will know who sold your info. That's the kind of alpha I wish that we had on the timeline every single day. Now, are you a fan of Metallica? Well, apparently yesterday their X got compromised. They were shilling some metal token. I saw some people saying, nah, this is like a fake hack. They're just pretending they got hacked, but they're actually trying to make some money off of it. I don't necessarily think that's the case. Obviously, for anybody that plays Fortnite, you might be familiar that Metallica actually has a new promotion with Fortnite as of the other week. So again, a lot of attention on Metallica and their socials. Yeah, that's a tough look that they got compromised and somebody's out there shilling a freaking token. Bill Noble, again, if you love crypto content in general, highly advise you guys follow him. He does do various streams as well, but he covers more of the general market. But he highlighted this and said, okay, I like this guy's take. So let's see what Bill Noble likes. This is coming from Redphone. Crypto's next massive narrative, which we love, stares us in the face. It's not the election, okay? It's not Solana meme coins. It's not restaking or gaming. It's bigger than all of those combined. It's AI and crypto. And it's not just that AI will work better on crypto rails than TradFi rails. It's that AI will work better on a decentralized web as well. In other words, AI and crypto are re-architecting modern finance and the internet itself. First, finance. AI won't have sufficient access to TradFi rails. That system is too opaque, trustful, slow, and over-regulated. That doesn't much matter, though, as AI has access to something better. Decentralized, uncensorable, fully programmable magic internet money, aka crypto, moving at the speed of light. Second, the web. The centralized web, aka Web 2, presents many of the same hurdles as TradFi. Data is walled off, mutable, impermanent, over-regulated, and yet, almost like magic, we already have an alternative, the decentralized web. Open information flows onto permanent file storage like Arweave, IPFS, and inscriptions, see Bitcoin ordinals. That information is uncensorable, readily consumable by AI agents, and in the case of inscriptions, programmable and monetized. Blockchains themselves are sort of an internet with AMMs and credit protocols and NFT launchpads, enabling trading, lending, creating, selling, etc. It's everything the machines could want and need. We look to humans and TradFi companies for crypto's true hockey stick moment, but instead we should look to AI. I believe we've been building a parallel financial system plus internet that's optimized for AI, and we didn't even realize it in the early days. All this to say that I've shifted my thoughts from crypto and Web3 will absorb TradFi to crypto and Web3 serve as the base layer for AI. Web3 isn't our internet. It will belong to the machines. That sounds like a trite soundbite, but it requires rewiring mental models. It's a profound shifting from a belief that the universe revolves around the Earth to a realization that the Earth actually revolves around a random star in a random corner of an impartial and infinite universe. Now, I don't want to go through the rest of it here because it is kind of lengthy, but very wild right up here, talking about everything should be really focused on the fact of AI and crypto. And that's kind of a bullish take for anybody that is holding anything within Web3 that is AI related. Yo, Atari got, hey, yo, it's the legend. Cheers, aka Mr. Harry Swan, aka Holy Guacamole. Yo, where the hell is Harry Swan? Drew, what's going on? How are you doing? Okay, Wizard of Blast saying somehow it got even worse. The Blaze team has essentially burnt 72,000 gold by sending it to their multisig. Oh my goodness. Okay, so the Blast gold farming and whatnot. We got more seasons. Again, we got a special guest coming up later on in this session of XFeed, but one of the protocols, I guess, or collections out there made this announcement in their Discord. We sent all of the 72,675 meant for gold collectors in round 3 to the Blaze multisig just before the cutoff in order to claim the tokens and airdrop them to everyone based on the amount of gold they've earned in round 3. Unfortunately, a multi-sig cannot claim the blast airdrop to the sum of 72,675 gold. We sent to it is inaccessible, meaning we cannot access it, nor can any of their users. Okay, listen, if we had AI agents, would the AI agents screw this up? Do we think the AI agents would screw that up? That is the question. Okay, so Aaron McDonald here with a pretty bullish post here. We talk about Featureverse here and there, of course. If you didn't listen when we brought 11 world-class technology and IP teams together, it's okay. If you didn't listen when we shared world-class leading research and engineering and generative AI, it's okay. If you didn't listen when we started to showcase how this technology could work, it's okay. If you didn't listen when we shared a small glimpse into the household names we were working with to bring their audience, it's okay. But if you now refuse to listen to the dozens of builders now leveraging that to create the open metaverse, that is just stupidity. Okay, so this is a post that's gotten some positive reaction, some people being like, oh, what the hell is this cockiness? I don't think he's necessarily like dogging people. I think, maybe the stupidity thing's like a little bit much at the end, but I think the aspect with all of this is that we are kind of at the early stages and there is glimpses into everything, and now we kind of get to see what's going on with all of these different collections, and I do think the Futureverse does have a significant amount going for it, and as we can see here from Jesse Metcalf showing a little AR friend that they created using some of the Futureverse tech, and it's there on their desk. I remember watching Star Atlas actually in the earlier days. If you guys remember the posters that were out there, and you could like use your phone and it would give you like this crazy 3D, not interactive, but just a visual experience. And you were like, holy hot damn. This actually kind of reminds me of that, but for the time being. And again, rather high quality, and you get to show off the tech. And I think that is kind of cool. Now, some other things going out of Futureverse for their gods and goblins. They are doing a competition for their goblins, where if you mint a goblin, I think it's like $20, or if you play the game, you can end up getting these for free. But there's 1,000 XRP up for grabs. So we'll see how many people end up getting involved in that. And so far, that's reached about 3,000 people on the timeline. Miles here with a very interesting take, saying a few months ago, it was looking like an extremely accelerated cycle, potentially peaking in Q4 this year. Kind of back, if you look at the beginning of the year to, a month ago, markets were like just freaking straight up brewy, right? And now it's kind of calmed down. People are like, oh my God, what's going on? And it's definitely slowed down. Now, after recent price action, I'm thinking Q1 or Q2 of 2025 is more realistic. This last month has set the cycle back and bought us time. Use it to your advantage. Again, a little bit of a bullish take on the timeline, but Ice Bags here ripping on your bags. NFTs are so effing dead that there's probably about 10 projects actually building. Maybe 5 of those are doing anything remotely interesting. Those 5 will gigascend when momentum swings back. And I've kind of been a preacher of this. I've always said I don't get why there's so much hate on like legacy ETH NFTs as an example, because again, assuming they still have the amount of funding from their initial mints, a lot of them had raised additional funding on top of that, including the royalties, which again hasn't been insane. And obviously we've had some downturns in people paying those royalties and whatnot, but there's an absolute reason that these are still around, because they're the only people doing stuff. And so if there is more interest, it's going to be on those ones that are doing it. We've had a lot of takes on the timeline or people hyping up different collections, and it's kind of, it's there for a short period and then it kind of dwindles down. And I think that there's a lot of rationale for that momentum to get picked back up. But a lot of these games, I do agree with the take of you kind of have one shot to really put it out there, because then it's about convincing people. But again, you never know at some point, because for some of these games, they get picked up later. For some reason, a big streamer picks it up and then all of a sudden it flies. But Web3 hasn't really had any of those moments. We're all kind of just making assumptions of what's going to go on here. Yo, Bosch, what's going on? Momentum never has to swing back. Many a bag holder tells themselves that every day. Yeah, that's fair. But do you actually think that like nothing that's out there right now is going to succeed? I mean, when we look at the different collections, I mean, does Moonbirds... No, that's kind of maybe a weird example because it's kind of not having that great of a resurgence per se since the Yuga acquisition. But if they focus on a certain target market, or if they have a show that people like, or if it gets on the networks, like there's so many different things where we have the world that's trying to figure everything out. Where esports would actually be like a great example of this, because if you follow esports at all, we see kind of a constant questioning about how do we get sponsors? How does these leagues work? For League of Legends, the North American scene, there's all this, oh my God, everything's dying. There's no new players on there. How do we get people to join it? Well, in Korea, it's a massive hit. They have, a decent bit of sponsors, but still, even for the top league in Korea, there's all this talk about them struggling to find partnerships, where then there's a podcast on the side with a couple of personalities that have all these things. And I think there's going to be a, long road of watching some things fly. And that's the thing with the narratives, right? And that's another take I've seen on the timeline, where all it takes is one game, one of the traditional ETH NFTs, whether it be Solana or whatever, it doesn't necessarily have to be ETH. But once one of those really starts sending, everybody's able to convince themselves, being like, holy smokes, we're mooning, brother, type deal. And so I agree with you. We have no idea. What's what. And that's kind of the scary thing on the timeline, because people will tell you this is the alpha, and you're like, yeah, right, bozo. Yo, crypto party, hey, what's going on? How are you doing? Let me know how it's going. So Icebags with an interesting take on the timeline. Camel here is saying, so people built their products specifically on Blast to get users that are actively using the chain. The issue is 99% of these users are farmers and never cared about the products being built. I would say that I kind of agree with that. Again, whenever there's opportunities, we got to jump on it. But there's definitely going to be some people that do care about those specific products. And even, the more that I think about this, is Blast had a whole bunch of different protocols and things. I know my original reaction when we saw Blast and what they were offering was it was a ton of different like perp tradings, just trading in general, dexes, like all this. And I'm like, okay, there's like 50 of these things launching. Where are the games? And it happened to be like Captain and Company. Wolf Game ended up getting on there a little bit later, but there was really a focus on like just a certain subset, and I thought that was kind of strange. But again, people are still using it for other reasons, but 99%, maybe not that high, but now people are dumping the tokens they farm, throwing the dApps they use to the side, and are moving on with their lives. At least that's the assumption. This is the issue with building a product that incentivizes farming. When there is no farming left, no one gives a shalaki. Blast up to 2 cents. Hell yeah. Well, how do you even say that? It's at 2.8 cents. LPS getting thin. Noted. We are farmers, but not too bad with the Blast airdrop today. Okay, cool. Yo, we're partying. Hell yeah. So a whole bunch of takes. And again, we got a special guest coming up in a little bit here. We're going to be diving into Blast more. Mooncat, again, who is a huge bidder and farmer within all this. Damn, not going to lie, shocked by how this went down. Here's my first thoughts. Vesting was way more than expected, meaning need to stay for 6 months doing a lot of work for a way lower price than expected. The video was way too much and over the top for my taste. I don't know what the hell that means. The price is just horrific and below all my estimates. So that is absolutely true. I feel that when we were on the timeline looking at everything, people had like a rather significant price target for Blast. And I think there was a difference between what people thought like Blast points were worth versus Blast gold, and then like Blast itself, et cetera, et cetera. But I saw so many things that were over $1 on the timeline. Like everything seemed like Blast was going over $1. And then like I'm looking and it's at like 2 cents. I'm like, okay, is everybody super wrong? What the hell is going on? And no communication until the last second. I guess I really lived inside my own echo chamber and thought this time would be different. Expected a lot more on many fronts. Okay. So this is kind of one of the first reactions. This was a little bit earlier at 10:30 a.m. We've had different changes across the timeline, but some good news for people that are in Blast is we got Coinbase immediately saying Coinbase will add support for Blast on the Blast network. Do not send this asset over other networks or your funds may be lost. So is it listed now? Is it saying that it's coming? I don't exactly know what this means. One Blast gold is worth $3 right now. Okay, cool. Thank you for the clarification on that. Awesome. So again, we talked the other day. What's going to happen? Binance, Coinbase, all these big exchanges are going to want to get in on the most hyped tokens. And again, Blast is that. So very interesting to see. ISO Beast saying over half of the Blast claims already happened in the first hour, feeling cautiously optimistic. As with every airdrop, the fastest dumpers are always the first to claim. So pretty insane to me that like within the first hour, half of the claim has happened. You know what I mean? Like that just seems outrageous that within an hour of this launching, over 50% of the claimants have had that happen. insane. Yo, new type. ETH is becoming Cosmos. By that, I mean it's an ecosystem riddled with constant farming for airdrops on new chains. It's becoming a cancer for Atom, and I bet it'll be the same for ETH. Very interesting. I haven't really looked into Cosmos too much. I remember we brought it up before, and there was like a really cool UI type interface, but I've never really delved into that. But I appreciate you sharing that, new type, and then we'll see how if all these things are really about just farming more tokens. Clouded saying people locked up their money at the stone cold bottoms of the bull market in a multi-sig for a Ponzi L2 that forked all OP stack and Lido and spent all the last 7 months farming for a disappointing airdrop with huge opportunity cost. Others bought memes and made 2,000%. This is not a problem with crypto. It's a problem with the VC grift models, bad tokenomics, bad incentives, questionable team execution, and lack of real innovation. This is market reflexivity. I said it right the first time. And it won't swing back till there is quality product at fair valuation with aligned incentives, good innovations, and or new primitives. Until then, meme coin super cycle. Okay, we're showing the meme coins. Unbelievable. But this is kind of an interesting take here. I would make the argument that the problem... Is it a problem? Yeah, it's a problem. When we mention the user error that happened for the Blast product that was having gold, and they sent it to a multi-sig and we're like, son of a bitch, we can't even get it, right? I think that there's a lot of things where you build a network and you hope people come and do things on it, then you help support them, but you never know what's going to happen. And for a lot of what happened earlier with Blast is, hey, we hope people are going to put money into this and help kind of bootstrap the ecosystem. And I think that it worked, but there is a lot of things going on with memes where it's a lot easier of a sell. The people that are really grinding out these different opportunities, some people have done absolutely amazing. Some people apparently didn't do well, but that seems like it was more based off of if they didn't farm on Blast and they tried to focus on like the blur angle of things. But there's just so much going on within the blockchain space, whether you want memes, whether you want new chains, whether you want gaming. I know gaming really hasn't hit its stride yet, but I think that there's a lot of different angles and everybody's just going to find something they like, right? It's the same thing with the different NFT collections. It doesn't matter. If you don't like Bored Apes, if you don't like Pudgy Penguins, who the hell cares? There's 650 other collections you could get into that you might like more, right? It's not necessarily, hey, we don't like what's going on with the blockchain. It's like you just don't like this specific angle. And sure, some are going to make money, some aren't. We got a lot of narratives going on. But speaking of narratives, holy sweet suffering succotash. Breaking U.S. government sent over $240 million worth of Bitcoin to Coinbase Prime. So this is apparently like a custodial thing for institutions and whatnot. Arkham Intel posting a bit on that, saying that they moved the $240 million worth. The BTC was originally seized from narcotics trafficker Banmeet Singh and forfeited as trial in January 2024. Big amount of money being moved on that. Holy sweet suffering succotash. Now, talking about the metaverse, interoperability, all that kind of stuff. If you guys remember Nifty Island, well, there's some of those Genkai avatars, but they now have it where you can connect your Ronin wallet. We highlighted yesterday how the Rainbow wallet is giving rewards for it. Ronin wallet's obviously for the Ronin chain, but I think, listen, this is just more of an example of the massive interoperability, and everybody is going to be maxis of things. We're seeing everybody's different avatars within these, and how can you play as your favorite IP brand, whatever, in the world where everybody else is. So Lemon here, who's a great follow, has a kind of cool video here about OKX, one of the exchanges, and it's just making me think. From the Bored Ape merch, we're seeing Azuki things coming out. I remember Cool Cats had a whole bunch of merch. It is hilarious to think that when you're walking around the streets, you're going to be seeing people wearing your crypto merch, and you go up and you say hi. Is it like, is it weird if you go around, you're like, yo, I'm a Bored Ape holder, and they're like, yo, bro, get away from me. You know what I mean? That's crazy. At the same time, it's like, hey, this stuff is just getting more normalized. And everybody's doing merch. Every freaking person is doing merch. It's unbelievable. Now, Web3 Gaming, Jesus Martinez saying no one is talking about Bloodloop Games token hitting all-time highs at the start of their playtest. I will. So it's up 20% on the 24 hours. And that's kind of cool. Again, I haven't really followed this too much here, but it's a 5v5 tactical hero shooter game. From my understanding, this is somewhat like Overwatch in a way, but seeing that they are getting some traction on that is awesome. Anything to do with Web3 gaming, seeing some positivity. We love it. Camel saying Web3 gaming is next up. People are sick of farming, sick of being fed lies by founders. They're getting burnt out on shitcoins. Gaming is the most obvious, fun, and rewarding blockchain application immediately available. So the question is, do you agree with this take? Do you not agree with this take? It does feel like there is a ton of money that have been put into the Web3 games, but it still feels like most of us are just, doing our League of Legends, Warzone, Pokemon trading card game, whatever it be. I feel like Parallel as well, which we'll get into here in a second. That one I thought was going to be a little bit more noticeable on my timeline. And I still, we highlighted the card packs and whatnot, but I just don't see it as much as I did when it was reaching those all-time highs. So for blockchain, whenever there is a token that flies, I feel like it's just going to be the talk of the day. Maybe it'll be for the week, maybe it'll be for the month, but whenever a certain ecosystem really flies, then we'll see it. And OpenSea doing their part to bring some attention to Parallel as well, for whatever reason. And we've verified this. OpenSea has now changed all of their stuff to be in the Parallel style. So I guess pay attention, because maybe something big is coming. Gandhi just became the #1 NFT lending protocol with a TVL of 12,000 Ethereum and $30 million in active NFT loan debt. As key infrastructure of the NFT space and community, Gandhi will continue to evolve and build. Now, the only thing to really note with this is, listen, we might be saying NFTs are dead, but there's 12,000 ETH, $30 million. People taking loans on this stuff. Listen, liquidity is here, and that's going to help out the markets big time. Different perspective here. Just want you to think about. Pudgies have immense support from crypto Twitter influencers and whales, while apes have been riddled and dragged through the mud. Despite this, they remain the same price. Thoughts? Okay, what are my thoughts? I think that everybody generally is just like, okay, we like pudgy penguins. They're a vibe. It felt like in the early days, there was this big kind of notion around Bored Apes where, we had certain individuals that were a little bit odd on the timeline that gave everything around it kind of a bad rap. But at the same time, why are they the same price? Well, think of all of the airdrops and things that Bored Apes have been given. They have been probably the most consistent, the most rewarding, and yeah, I mean, they've just done a hell of a lot. So I'm not really shocked by that at all. And I know that there's still people out there that think that, hey, like my grail, some people's grail is like the CryptoPunk, some people's is that for the ape, as it is Pudgy Penguin, but for the same price. Again, it's just kind of what you get. And also one has a token that you earn yield off, and the other one doesn't, at least yet. Okay, bottom 80% of Web3 gaming equals take a bad indie studio and slap a shoddy token on top of it. Making great games is hard, monetization and balancing is hard, and bootstrapping functional Web3 economy with a token in a meaningful biz model is hard. 95% of current Web3 games will fail. All right, can we not have as much bearishness on the timeline? Holy sweet guacamole. Unbelievable. But generally speaking, I don't know if that's wrong. Ultra Para saying Blur dying just in time for OpenSea to rise from the ashes. Been a while since we've heard about any major updates from them. Wouldn't be surprised to see tech advancements to the protocol and upgrades to the UX UI. Token drop too. Timing is right. Lashar says timing is everything. So it's a very interesting potential here. I don't know if, this comment I feel like is based off of the fact of the assumption that people are just going to stop using Blur. And I don't farm Blur. I never really did. Maybe tried it for like a little bit, and then I think something sold, and I was like, oh, never mind, never touching this again type deal way back when. But I still you look at Blur all the time. I would say that I look at Blur almost more than OpenSea. So I don't know if this blast token potentially pissing off a couple people because it's not like the price or whatever is going to affect Blur that bad. But it would be interesting in terms of sentiment and whatnot if OpenSea does come out and have a wabam, because then you have Magic Eden, you have OpenSea, you have Blur, all this crazy stuff. Do you guys remember NBA Top Shot? Oh my goodness. As part of the Top Shot settlement, anyone who owned one of the 33 million moments over the time period will get paid 12 cents per moment. In the news breaking, NBA Top Shot parent Dapper Labs settles class action suit that accused them of selling securities in exchange for $4 million. So you might not have seen that in the timeline. I just saw it right before we hopped on here and I was like, holy smokes, I didn't even realize that was a thing. I know early days there was some problems about people being able to like cash out what they have, but very interesting that there was actually an awarding of securities on that front. So another take here before we have our special guest coming on here. Tyler D saying, so all the sharp traders I follow are going long blast. And the mid curves are busy dunking on farmers for projecting gold too high. All right, sorry. I did kind of dunk on that, but that's just because I didn't really understand what the hell was going on. But wonder what the move is here. And Insomniac saying probably will go to 0.04 in the next day or two and then crash hard. So they said that, and I was like, hold on a second. The only thing that I can maybe like have a reference to is Blur. And I remember when Blur came out, I think, wait, wow, what the hell is that chart? I remember that it came out and then it absolutely ran. So if I can look at the right chart here, it looks like it came out at about 65 cents and then went all the way up to $1.18. And then it did absolutely proceed to dump, but still, you know, not an insane much farther from like where it started initially. And then obviously the market kind of took it down a little bit further, but nothing like that crazy per se. And so I don't know. Maybe we'll see that, but not 100% certain. All right, let's call our special guest here and get the inside scoop on what's going on with Blast. If you guys are here, I'd appreciate if you like the video. If you have any other questions, comments, I'm not an expert on anything, but we're here, we're vibing, and if the special guest doesn't join the Discord call, we're going to lose our mind. But Bosch, Crypto Party, Atari, who else is in here? Yo, M. Dolly. When are we playing League? Yo, we're getting on League soon, by the way, M. Dolly, even though I know that you're on another planet. Yo, hello. Just want to check we are live. Hello. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're here with Boomer to talk about Blast. Now, you have been farming the ever loving hell out of Blast. There's been a lot of negativity on the timeline. There's been a lot of optimism on the timeline, but it's felt like most of the people were dissatisfied with the number that came out. Is that correct, or what's your take on the happenings with Blast?
Oh man, so it's interesting. Yeah, I farmed the crap out of this thing. People who are reckless and were throwing all sorts of money in, like, hey, I'm gonna farm this gold that I think is worth $9, and I'm gonna pay $5 basically to farm it. Whether it's through fees or just taking losses, whatever it might be, they got crushed. So if you weren't efficient with your bag, yeah, you got wrecked. It's the same as if you would have just gone on, any one of these sites to buy gold, right? And buy points. People buy and sell points and trade their gold all the time. It's just like they bought it too high. I wrote I've written a lot of threads. I had a lot of fun, actually doing content with Blast and stuff, but I wrote a thread that was detailing out, like, I thought we would see $9 gold price, which would put us like 4-ish x higher than what we launched at right now. I think we're getting close to 3 billion FDV. But I made the case that, I think it's going to be worth, more than Polygon. It's going to start working its way up towards Arbitrum or Optimism. I didn't think it was going to be worth, 50% more than Flow to start. Yeah, I don't know. It's just the metrics that I had for everything else, at least in my thread, were spot on. The FDV was, I think, for everyone a big shock. But I'm not selling any of the coins. I didn't go buy in, but lots of people mispriced their stuff. Lots of people overspent for gold, and those are the ones that are angry. And then you've got tons of people who said, I hate Pac-Man, I hate Blur, Blur killed NFTs, whatever, the narrative is there, and they're just going to dunk on it regardless. So, yeah.
So, Bosch Manos here as a question saying, the only real question is, will Blast be more than a governance token?
I made a comment just 20 or so minutes ago to someone on Twitter. Like, I'm shocked there was no Ponzi behind this. Like, this was just freely given to people. Yeah, the biggest wallets got vesting on theirs. I think it was the top 1,000 wallets. So I have two wallets. One of my wallets has vesting on it, but now I'm looking at all the linked wallets that had to that wallet, and they all got blast claim when I did that. So I'm wondering if something's messed up in the vesting piece when you have multiple wallets linked to it. If it's not actually vesting, I have to be honest, I claimed and I've been gone all day, so I haven't done any more research on that. Um, but yeah, I'm shocked there wasn't a some sort of stake, keep your multiplier. I mean, it was very easy to see that season 2 was going to be here. I bought into certain projects, even thinking like Wolf Game, like season 2 was going to be a thing. I mean, that was very easily telegraphed. I mean, Pac-Man in his first blog post talked about a 4-year staking concept. You don't do that if you're not going to have some sort of, user acquisition reward model, which is literally what Blast Gold is. So I don't know. I think we'll see something, but I'm shocked that we were allowed to walk away as farmers, or anyone who's participated with 100% no vesting. That's kind of crazy to me.
So when you look at, I mean, you just said a second ago that you thought this was going to be bigger than Polygon, and I think everything's got somewhat of like an identity crisis across the space. There's so many chains, but what exactly do they cover? And I made the comment when Blast first launched and you had the opportunities to get into the different farming pools, was there was a lot of dexes, exchanges, and different type protocols over that, where there really wasn't much games, and it felt like everything was very, very skewed to just like this big pool of, hey, throw your money into here, you'll earn, and then hopefully you'll get to like trade on this, et cetera, et cetera. So what do you think Blast's narrative is going to be, and how do you think they succeed in getting more protocols or builders on Blast?
That's a good point. So what do I think? Let me ask you the question back. What do I think that they are going to have their narrative be, or what do I think the current narrative is like in the user mindset?
I'd say, what do you think they're hoping to be their narrative?
They're calling themselves the full stack chain now, right? So that feels like it's competing with Base in my mind. Right, Base is essentially doing that. They've obviously got Coinbase, which is significantly powerful than anything Blast will ever have. Kind of backing them. But I think that's the narrative they're gonna. I mean, they literally called out MetaMask in their post, right? First paragraph or two, I think even. The MetaMask doesn't work. It's the incumbent. Look, we thought OpenSea was unkillable, and they absolutely obliterated OpenSea. I have a feeling. I mean, MetaMask sucks. We all use it, but I think that they're going to probably overthrow MetaMask in some sort of way. I don't view them as the full stack chain. I view it as the Degen GambleFi chain. They're trying to add some SocialFi pieces to it. D1 failed miserably, but I think that's the team, not anything reflective of who was using it or the chain. I think that team just sucked. But there's a lot of GambleFi apps. And Blast Gold is, like I said, user acquisition. It is softening the blow for some of the gamble games to occur. So, instead of just, rake back fees and other things, like people gamble, you either win or you lose. But guess what? If you're losing and you're getting gold, it's cushioning your losses. Having the native yield on Blast opens up a whole new way to monetize those apps. Maybe there is no rake fee. Maybe it's just you're putting money in to these contracts. They're earning the percentage, 2, 3, 4, whatever, 4%, whatever that native yield is. That's why we're seeing refundable NFTs. Like, holy shit, man! Like, if we had not like refundable NFTs in 2021, like it would have been such a game changer. All these rugs could not have existed. Like, there'd be so much more money in the ecosystem. Imagine if other deeds were refundable. Like, just talk about like everyone minted that thing, and I think they're 0.1 floor or something, maybe even
Yeah,
less.
something way down there. So there
Something
was
ungodly, just terrible. But yeah,
there was a post that we were reading right before you hopped on here, and it was about somebody saying, okay, now's the time to strike if you're OpenSea, thinking that Blur had some kind of demise. But like, I don't see how in any way whatever Blast does is an effect on Blur, at least on the ETH side of things. So do you have any comments regarding Blur? I mean, even opening it up to Magic Eden, people are saying, okay, diamond rewards are now the things to go for. What's your takes on kind of like these NFT marketplaces right now?
I mean, Magic Eden. how do I phrase it without whatever? I don't care. Magic Eden sucks. I know a lot of people like it. I know Apes chose it, and then they've moved some of the assets off, the fairway assets, whatever. The diamond points, everything, like it just feels like another poorly done points system with endless farming. Tensor at least did it, I think, correctly, and they TGE'd, and users were rewarded, and they keep shipping. So on the Solana side, I think they're doing quite well. Obviously, OpenSea got just absolutely demolished. And I think when I think of trading NFTs on ETH, I'm using Blur. I'm not using OpenSea unless I'm forced to. There's some collections that still use it. I don't think Blur's toast. I think NFTs are going to be around forever. I think we need marketplaces to use them. I think the incentives are misaligned now. You saw CBB, largest Blur farmer. I think he lost $4.5 million farming NFTs. But he also provided, I think his stat was something ungodly, like $1 billion worth of loans over the last few years. With Blast coming out at such a low valuation, I don't know what he's got going on, but I feel like he might be wrecked quite a bit on his Blur side.
Well, he said that he was up like 15 million or something insane from like season 1 and 2 of Blur. Or Black,
because those were highly lucrative. Season 1, oh man, I made so many mistakes. I had friends that were making like 200K, 400K. I did not do any of the bidding things. I just bought and sold like a dum-dum, and did not do and play the game in the way it needed to be played. But yeah, I mean, season 1 was insanely profitable. Season 2 felt like it dragged on forever until we got to season 3, which literally did drag on forever. But CBB, I don't think his reward could outweigh losing $4.5 million. And the reason we bring him up is he was bigger than the top 10 combined if he removed himself out of there. So I guess places 2 through 11, he was bigger than. And that is a lot of liquidity that's now out of the market. And doesn't mean NFTs die. I mean, look, Gino had just made a post. I commented. He's like, "Oh, look, all the Blur farmers are gone. We were told NFTs to go to 0." And it's like, yeah, but multiple 9 figures just got dropped on people, and people are addicted to buying NFTs.
Going and rebuying the
right?
same thing.
And they're buying NFTs. Like, I'm people, hello, I'm doing this. So some of that, money's not getting just pushed right to fiat and out the ecosystem. Like, it's getting recycled back in. So this was overall, people can dunk on it. Overall, this was very positive for the ecosystem at whole, right? Money's going to flow over. Some's going to go off chain, go to base. Some's going to go to Solana. Some's going to go to ETH. Some's going to buy apes. Some's going to buy punks. Money's going to flow in a lot of different places because hundreds of millions of dollars was just given to people.
Facts. Looking at the chat here, Tolly, what are we doing? We're just talking about the Blast and Blur ecosystem of the token drop. If there's any particular Web3 conversations you'll want to guess into, let me know, boss. But Bosch, he's down at least 1.1 million right now. CBB said he's got 25% of points, so that would be 125 million Blast. Holy smokes. So...
Oh my gosh!
If I break out the calculator,
I think I finished. I think I finished with like 5.3 million across my wallets, and then I actually don't know what the Blur side is yet, because for some reason the gas was over $300 to claim my Blur side, which I was a big staker.
So at 125 mil at like almost 3 cents is like $3,500,000. So
he lost $1 million.
He lost.
He lost $1 million providing liquidity, doing $1 billion in loans, dealing with that crap day in and day out, and being fudded into the ground because everyone thinks that Blur killed NFTs, which it didn't. It just accelerated the demise. Most of that shit deserved to go to 0. We all knew it. We all joked about it. Blur just made it do it faster.
Tolly, I got $200 from Blast, worst place I ever put my time. Well, okay, so I guess that's a question, because I know, Boomer, you heavily got into it, and Bosch, I'd be curious, because it sounds like you're very familiar. I'm assuming you put a little bit into it too, and I'm Tolly, you as well. Are you going to continue to farm things? I know that you mentioned that earlier, but I'd love to know a little bit more. Are you happy with kind of what you got, and now it's kind of like just wait and see? Are the season 2 rewards supposed to be even better, or season 4? I don't even know what one they're on, because I'm kind of confused with the Blast Blast versus Blur model. But what's your game plan right now?
So you know the gif of the gif of the old guy that's like, hell yes. Like that's what I thought of when you asked me that question. Definitely still gonna play a game. It's another year. We've been told. My guess is expand that to probably 15 or 16 months. Am I gonna go hard on it like I was every day? No. But I'm definitely gonna put capital to work in the ecosystem. I'm super excited for several games launching or that are being bridged to Blast. Wolf Game is one that comes to mind. Their cave game launched. I think it did well. There's a lot of issues that they are going to fix, that they need to fix. But the main game, the Valley game's coming. I think that's going to be fantastic. It really fits the Blast narrative that I have, right? The Degen Gamble GameFi chain. Um, I don't know if you played Cambria. I know I pinged you on it. Ben is cooking up something amazing. They've been deving this thing for 9-10 months, kind of in silence. They had basically the dueling for ETH in their arena and the arena tokens watching and betting this little non-crypto token, in-game token on some AI, but they have been building out an entire, basically it's old school RuneScape. I mean, to
Yo, we love old
say
school
what it is.
RuneScape.
And it was grindy. It is buggy. It was
It
awesome
was
though.
it was a
It's
Web3 experience.
it wasn't, no, it wasn't like your typical Web3 shit show. It was actually good. And
Okay,
the thing
okay.
is that I could have been grinding it was last weekend that it went off for 2 days with Cambria, their Gold Rush event. I could have been farming literally anything else, including Wolf Game and everything else I was doing. I did none of that. I literally played Cambria both days that it was live, and I played a ton of it, not as much as some others. I finished like very poorly. I think it was like 85th or 90th or something. Can't compete with the kids that can do 32 hours out of 36 hours of it being live. But I had a blast. It was super fun. Um, testing and trying to run through their zones T1, 2, 3, 4, fishing, mining, harvesting. Like I had a genuine blast playing it,
Good.
and I think that is going to be another game that is going to launch and do really well on Blast. And I think the more quality stuff is going to rise to the top. I made a post today around Blast and specifically Blur, because if you're on Blur and you click to the Blast section, you go to airdrop, it now shows you that there's 6 million gold that they're going to give out over the next 12 months. And it says like 3 million is going to be to bidders, traders, listers, whatever. And then 3 million is they're going to figure out what to do with it. But in my mind, I say, okay, Blur on the Blast side has 6 million gold. That's $500,000 or 500,000 gold a month to give away. This is the creator of the chain. This is probably the most funded DApp, in terms of Blast gold. Everyone's going to have to adjust their numbers downwards. These new protocols, new DApps, they're not going to get a ton of gold. And gold, we've seen Blast is not worth that much. So gold inherently isn't going to be worth that much. User acquisition is going to be tougher. It's going to be harder to get people in. It's going to be harder to be stickier. The dApps themselves are going to have to pivot massively. You can't just assume like, oh, I've got all this free gold, so everyone will pay me fees, or buy my stuff because they're going to get so much gold. That's gone away. The game has now officially changed. I don't think people realize it yet. They're still in kind of
The
shock over
pivot.
the
The
FTV.
pivot.
It's now a complete, like, it is going to mean that you have to build something of quality, right? In order to get Blast Gold. And I know farmers are leaving, so people competing for this is going to go down, but the gold looks like it's going to go down dramatically. So I think that we're going to see higher quality stuff be awarded with gold. I think a lot of this crap that we saw, specific like D1, that team, oh my gosh, and teams like that, I think are just not gonna get the time of day anymore, and it's gonna be more competitive. So overall, I do think that that's a positive thing for Blast, and I have mixed emotions on it. Right, I'm happy I got the W. I'm bummed it wasn't as much. I'm shocked, we didn't have a Ponzi after it, but I'm still super bullish on Blast as a complete ecosystem.
M. Tollier saying, hell nah, you're not farming. Bosch, I'm farming risk free. I put 20 ETH into Blast. I ended season 1 with 25 ETH. Hell yeah. And 1.7 million Blast. So I printed. Cha-ching.
Yeah.
Love to
Yeah.
hear
So
it.
so that right there, Schiller, think about it. Like they were efficient with their money. They made profit, right? They walked away with $1 million. Like, how could you FUD that? Right? You
True.
can't. Like
How could you FUD that? We can't.
that person just made a ton of money. Like, put that in US dollar terms or local currency terms. They just effing crushed it, right? But there's people on the other side of that that were not efficient with their money, that were throwing their money everywhere, and maybe didn't earn enough gold to offset it.
Now, final thing before we wrap up here. People are now calling saying, well, Blast season is over. The narrative is now going to be Web3 gaming. Agree or disagree?
Disagree. I don't think we're in Web3 gaming season yet. And I also don't think the Blast narrative is done. You don't have, was it 3 billion in TVL, and that just doesn't vanish overnight. Lots of that money is going to be sticky. I don't see that massively going off chain. In terms of Web3 gaming, I think there's fantastic games coming in. I was actually chatting with someone today through DMs on product market fit, and I think those that are building games for the consumers that are not here yet are going to still be in a world of pain. Honestly, I think they're going to have I hope they have control over their burn rates, because if you're building for consumers that are not here yet, you have to wait for them to come. And we don't know how long that's going to be. We've got different builders that are building for the current use cases and the current user, trying to get product market fit. And to be honest, and it's frustrating as all hell, and I, to be honest, really hate it. But most people are here to make money. They're here to gamble, right? And degen it up. They're buying meme coins. They're trying to figure out the ROI on every single thing that they buy. They're not buying for collections right now. It is all about financial incentives, and most of it's gambling. So the products that are going to do well are probably those, at least in the short term. Do I think that's the long-term answer? Absolutely not. I pray that it is not. But guess what? Blast is attracting that whole community, and that's why I don't think it's going to struggle.
Noted. All right. Well, guys, that's going to do it for this edition of XFeed. Thank you so much for coming on through. If you want to give me a like on the video, that'd be a fantastic. Boomer, thank you so much for joining on, giving your insights. Of course, we will have you back sometime soon. I'm Tali, Atari God, Bosch Crypto Party. Who else we got in here? New type, but I saw somebody that typed a second ago, user about the TVL is garbage. Sorry, I don't know exactly what your name is, but we'll call you user for now. Thank you for coming on through, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks.